At StockX Capital, we have the most accurate, consistent, and concise levels that are proven to be the best entries or the best exit points. Today we're going to be talking about how our levels are a game changer towards your trading journey here. By using our leveling system, we can find 100 different plays to get into or get out to. These levels also allow us to avoid our biases and help us understand when their key breakout zones exist. We played both sides of the market today, the downside and the upside, taking advantage of the premiums and understanding when their inflection points exist. So we're going to be starting off by explaining how the model works, the definitions, and then we're going to be talking about how that relates to today's trades that we have taken. And then finally, we're going to be closing up by showing you some charts and so forth. It may be a long video today, so stick to it. If you really want to learn how this model works, then I suggest you watch the entire video. So let's go straight into it. So today, we want to first start talking about what the model is and how it works. So in our Discord, we have definitions here to explain how the process works. Each level has a unique meaning to it. Level 1 is the gatekeeping level here, okay? So this is an inflection point that is crucial to understand. So the best way to understand this, how it works, is that each level that we developed here, for example, we analyze option premiums. So by looking at it from an option premium perspective, think of it like this. When you trade options, there's two sides to the table. There's people that buy calls and puts. So that's people like retail traders. You know, you pretty much, let's just say if you want to buy a Tesla 250 call for $3. Your max risk is that $3 that you're paying for, okay? And your max gain could be infinite depending on how far in the money you get into that 250. So if you get, 260, 270 or whatever, your gains could be infinite depending on how far above it go, or how deep in the money it gets. Same thing works for puts. Now on the other side of the table is where the option trader is premium sellers. So the people who write options, these are the people that collect a specific premium. So if you bought a Tesla 250 call for $2, the person who wrote the call is going to collect that premium for that. They get that guaranteed rate of return with that $2, but their losses could be infinite. So if someone had wrote a 250 Tesla call, and let's just say Tesla goes to 260 by expiration, then that contract is going to be worth $10 and that they're minus 800. So they receive 200, but they're minus $800 on the spread, which means you lost more than your initial investment. So that's a key thing to remember here, okay? And by using that relationship here, I devised a way where I can pretty much find the demand where it is, makes sense to write premiums, and the demand zone when the trend confirms. So for example, when you see this level 1 system right over here, we'll use Broadcom for example. Level 1 is where it's a gatekeeper. This is where there is demand to write calls or puts, okay? So the demand is there because the premiums are at an inflection point where once it hits this zone here, market makers like to write option premiums at this specific zone. Now this level here, what you may often notice is that there is usually an initial pump off this number here. So it's usually a very strong inflection point, and sometimes it just completely breaks through, okay? It usually depends if there's market news or analytics, but it's a very strong inflection point. And even in today's trading session here, we still broke through the level 1, but many times we've seen the market really reverse off the zone here. So it's important to use that level as a guide, because if everything is breaking that level 1 or whatever the key is, then we know that the market is very weak for that specific stock or index that we're watching. Because you see right over here, MSTR pretty much hit our level 1, Once it went actually to the pre-market high, but then it started to move back lower here, okay? And that's going to be a key relationship to note whenever you are taking into consideration from that. So it's like a gatekeeping level. Level 2 is where the trend is confirmed. So going back to that relationship here, level 2, we know the trend is confirmed here because whenever the stock or index hits that particular level, let's just say, we hit this level 2, let's use our daily levels here, okay? So whenever you hit this level 2, for example, what happens here is that you normally see a temporary bounce. So at this point here, what happens in terms of the option maker is that if, let's just say, a option, a market maker has 1 million outstanding contracts for NVIDIA 95 call or whatever the key is, right? So let's use this for example. We'll go back to NVIDIA. So let me actually find a better number that makes it easier to understand because I don't want to get too complicated. So let's just say SMCI, for example, hits this level 2 bullish here. So when SMCI hits this level 2 bullish, this is a point where if a market maker has outstanding, let's just say 37 calls that they wrote, remember that relationship, the market maker can lose infinite amount of money. So what they would do here, and these market makers, they write options that expire a month out, week out, whatever the case is. We analyze those premiums. So whenever it hits this point over here, this is a point where we know the trend is confirmed. And what happens at this case here, you would see a temporary pullback, okay? Why is that? The reason why you will see a temporary pullback is because at this particular point, if let's just say, market maker, for example, has 1 million outstanding SMCI calls, and because their losses are infinite and because they're freaking out because SMCI ripped to this point, could be because of news, could be for whatever reason. If it hits to this point, what happens is that the market maker, they have 1 million outstanding option contracts. What they will do is that they will cover half of it, so they will reduce half their stake. You see a temporary pullback from this point on, where you see a drop and you see a drop in the premium. And what happens is that the market maker buys equity in the stock to make sure that they can fulfill the obligation once that comes due. So by Friday's expiration, if it goes in the money, they have the necessary equity to fulfill that obligation. So that's what level 2 works. It works the opposite for the downside as well. Level 3 is where you see the market peak. So this is our reversal zone. Okay, this is where you see a huge bounce, and we played that today with Costco because we bought calls right at our level 3. You see that the market completely broke down and Costco stopped right exactly at our number right here. So this was a key example of a reversal zone that you tend to play here as well. Our estimated weekly low and highs, those are based off the gamma levels. So gamma is pretty much analyzing the probability of where the key range is, and these numbers are purely based off the premium. So I hope that makes sense, but since I have a lot of material to cover, I want to go to the next section. And in this part, I want to talk about the trades that we've taken. So today's trading session here, we had a couple of swings, and one of them was MSTR. We started off the day by trying to get these NVIDIA 95 puts. They didn't fill, so we just left it as it is. We purchased these Broadcom 150 puts at 85 cents. Okay, the reason why I bought this is because it was relatively cheap, and we knew that the semiconductors were weak here. Okay, so what had happened here is that we pretty much took this Broadcom put here, and we decided to sell around our level 1 bearish here. Okay, so when we had these Broadcom puts, we waited for the market to pretty much take us all the way over here. We sold it right here, and there was a brief pop. Eventually the market started to make its way down and went slightly below. So that tells us that level 1 has been breached, and you may see some more weakness in Broadcom, but it did pop near end of the day, and we got out for a nice gain there. Okay, we purchased these QQQ 430 puts as well. Okay, the reason why we got these QQQ 430 puts I gave this chart to everyone, on Twitter, but pretty much we bought it right here, right? We bought it right 434. The premiums are so expensive that what had happened, we bought it because it was in the bearish breakdown zone. We knew that it's going to continue to break down all day, so we bought those puts, and we scored a nice 50% on that as well. We stopped at around this point over here, but it ended up going at 428. Didn't really make a difference because the time decay pretty much made it the same time around. We sold our MSTR calls that we had as a swing for 90%, and that was the perfect sell because we decided to sell MSTR at the top here. Reason being is because it hit the pre-market high. So using our indicator that we have here doesn't work for us. This is where we sold at pre-market high, got out, and enjoyed our profits. We had 20 contracts on those, so we got out of that, and we did place an order to buy it again. Initially we wanted at 2.5, then we changed the order at 1.5. Okay, now if we go back into this order over here, we're going to show you an amazing thing about this, because you can see here this is time stamped at around 11:14. If we go back to our chart over here, you can see that 1.5 was the exact low of the day here. Okay, so we always make sure that we have a watch list to always watch us, and you can see right over here this low of the day was exactly at 1.5 for the 350 calls. Okay, so when we pre-announce plays, those are our 8+ setups that we are pretty much confident in, and that we know once it fills will give us a nice rate of return. So looking back at that particular play here, once we got that fill, and usually because sometimes my numbers are so particular, and sometimes there's situations where people don't get fill. Actually, everyone got the fill on that. I didn't see anyone not get the fill. We sold our Broadcom and QQQ puts right when the S&P 500 hit this level 2 bearish right over here. So we are expecting a little bit of a pop here, and it did exactly happen. So we sold at that point right over here, and we banked on our QQQ and our Broadcom as well. Then we got the fill on MSTR calls over here, and it never went red once. Okay, so it was a very nice opportunity there. We got that fill, we held on, and then we purchased Costco 980 calls here as well. Okay, now these Costco calls we bought at this level 3 bearish inflection point, as you guys can see right over here, 217 around over there. That's where we purchased it, and that was the nice move here as well. The MSTR 350 call ended up giving us 50% return. I held that trade, but I ended up selling Costco near the end of the day because we didn't want to hold anything else except our MSTR roll-ups. So as you guys can see here, guys, the setups are real, the information is real. I gave this to you guys on Twitter, and you guys can see that in real time. Okay, all these levels are always provided before the start of the week. And if you look at our Twitter here, I even confirmed that our estimated weekly low was at 428. Where did QQQ bounce off of? 428. What was our SPX estimated weekly low? 5100. And you can see that right for yourself here, because even though there's more downside potential, even with SPY over here as well, even though there's more downside potential over here, the pops are usually massive right here. You've seen non-stop red candles, and right when it hits my point, boom, you got the bounce here. Everyone in my room always gets these levels before the start of the market. I always make sure that we never change the levels. Okay, this is no bullshit. We never make sure that we don't change anything once it's produced. We've been working on this. So for example, I posted my first chart yesterday on Sunday at 12:52. Okay, if we go back all the way to the bottom of all my charts and analysis that I provide everyone, I basically ended off my day at around 1, because we also do the market sentiment report. here as well, and this is at around 1 a.m. So we take our time to make these levels, and that's why they have been very accurate, consistent, and once the week is finally finished, I will go the before and after, show you guys what has happened. And setting up this information is very easy. We have a university where we explain on how you can pretty much set these charts up for yourself. But in order for you to have access to this information, you have to be in the StockX mentorship program. So if you guys are interested in joining the mentorship program, you want to check out the analyst package. Right now we got a 50% sale off the first payment over here, and it's going to be $125. It also includes coaching, so you get to have the opportunity to speak to me, book calls with me, and that we have a one-on-one lesson. You get morning calls, you get all that information as well. We also have a sale on our 3-month package, which is 20% off, $399 for 3 months, and includes everything in the Discord, including the one-on-one meetings, the full alerts, the morning calls, and all of that. We share every trade that we want to get into in the morning call, so that way you are prepped. Our A+ setups are best for people that don't have the time to manage their own chart, but by looking at the Discord and by hearing us on voice, which we are live on daily, and we're there from market open to market close. We have the trade logs here, the transcripts, everything I say is discussed, and we mention all of that. So having this level of information in your Discord, right behind in your pocket, is what's going to change everything for you when you guys trade. Transparent on alerts, transparent on the levels, and we always make sure everything I say is jotted down by our AI bot that tracks everything what we say. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. I'll see you guys on the inside. Check out the service below. Sign up. You don't want to miss out, because this is an opportunity that you don't want to miss. Thanks for tuning in, and like always, let's get that money.